What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some battles in the Fantasy Cup with a Pokemon that seems everyone's completely forgotten about since its altered form released as a Shadow last season. But if any of you remember back to the last time we had the Fantasy Cup, Giratina Origin form was comfortably the safest Pokemon in the meta, with basically no normal or dark type Pokemon, so its energy was strong into absolutely everything, and most fairies and dragons don't actually deal any fairy or dragon type fast move damage, so it's not going to be walled by any Pokemon. Now in the back I'm running two double buffed Shadow Dragons with similar fighting plus electric type coverage, which I think is perfect in this meta for all the steel types, as well as Azumarill and Corviknight. I was able to go 20 and 5 on the day, regaining over 200 elo, and I can absolutely recommend this team. With that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. Which previously strong Pokemon that hasn't seen much usage recently do you think is actually still very good? Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Let's go into the first battle, leading Giratina into Azumarill. So this is actually a very neutral matchup, which Giratina wins in the zero shield scenario. I'm going to go straight for Shadow Ball. It takes 7 Shadow Claws to get there. And by the way, Giratina did get technically double buff this season, with Dragon Tail, of course, having a rework, and then Dragon Pulse costing less energy. However, I don't think you need those moves in this meta. So here, I'm actually going to swap out into my Shadow Dragonite, because I realized if the opponent wants to, they could shield their Azumarill up against my Giratina and commit to a bubble farm down. So instead we swap into a Shadow Dragonite, and unfortunately met with a Dedenne, but the opponent does stay in with that Azu initially, so we grab a shield, we go for superpower, and we're able to throw on CMP. So this means Parabolic Charge actually going to get the KO there as I debuff my defense. They boost up theirs, but Giratina does still have some residual energy, so I'm going to come in with the Giratina, and I'm able to outpace them to the Ominous Wind. Ominous Wind is actually going to grab the final shield from the opponent. The opponent is going to overfarm. They farmed up to a potential play rough. However, of course, Parabolic Charge easily enough to KO from that range. I'm going to come in with the Latias, and here I'm not going to throw it on CMP. Instead, I'm going to shield this as the opponent fires off the play rough. They swap into their final Pokemon, a Corviknight, but we've already got the Thunder. Thunder does huge damage there. The opponent actually not even committing to a payback, just settling for the Air Cutter. Air Cutter gives them the boost, but they don't reach another charge move, and now we can just go for a charge move into Azumarill, or of course the Dedenne coming back in. Actually gonna overfarm just because I can. Aura Sphere, of course, resisted damage, but it gets the KO there, and another Aura Sphere once again resisted into Dedenne, but Aura Sphere takes out Dedenne, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. You can see Dedenne in the lead this time around. So, Dedenne is definitely the Pokemon I had the most issues with. However, it is still playable. Giratina has a neutral matchup here. The opponent is going to go for a bait, which is very unfortunate for me. I'm also going to bait, though. I'm going to go for the Ominous Wind, and Ominous Wind is going to grab a shield back from the opponent. You see, with our fast moves, we are dealing decent damage here. Now, I don't throw the Shadow Ball straight away. I don't want to throw on CMP once again, and unfortunately, they double bait me, so I am also going to double bait. Ominous Wind actually is going to give me the boost. You see it quite late there, and I'm hoping maybe we live a play rough now. Nope, that is not the case, so potentially should have just thrown another Ominous Wind. But either way, I'm going to come in with the Latias, and the opponent tries to catch an Aura Sphere, but that backfires massively as now I overfarm massively. They're going to come back in with the Dedenne, but I've banked enough energy to reach another Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere gets the KO, and they're going to have a double Mud Slap backline, in which case Shadow Dragonite absolutely feasting here. Going to go straight for Superpower. Superpower gets that one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent there into the next battle. You can see Giratina into Appleton. So, this is going to be a slightly negative matchup for me because they are going to be on Astonish. I swap into Shadow Dragonite, and unfortunately met with a Florges, but they are unlikely to be running any Fairy-type charge moves in this meta, and I'm going to overfarm, fire off back-to-back Thunder Punches. Thunder Punch is actually going to grab a shield advantage here, and the opponent doesn't commit to a full farm down. So, of course, they can fire off a charge move. Chilling Water gets the KO. I don't know what the secondary charge move is, so just in case they are on Moonblast, I will probably shield the first charge move on my Giratina. So the opponent fires off another Chilling Water, which is unfortunate, and they do reach yet another one because they debuff my attack there. But that's fine, we can tank that very comfortably. I'm going to swap out straight away into Latias, and I'm met with a Corviknight. But we've got Thunder for coverage, so what we're going to do, we are going to shield the first charge move as they fire off the payback. They swap back into Appleton, but that's fine with me. We've got Aura Sphere already loaded. Aura Sphere is going to grab the final shield from the opponent, and I'm able to reach yet another one before they get to an outrage. So Aura Sphere gets the KO there. They come back in with the Corviknight, and I'm actually going to bank the energy, swap back into my Giratina, fire off the Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball is going to put them into range where easily an Aura Sphere will get the KO. So the fact that we didn't farm up to the Thunder doesn't really make any difference here. Payback gets the KO, but we've got the charge we've banked, and of course, like I just mentioned, Aura Sphere takes out the Corviknight, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's up on there into next battle. You'll see Giratina into Shadow Altered Giratina. So this is still going to be a decent matchup for us because I should be winning CMP. So in the one shield scenario, I should just be able to go straight Ominous Wind and take this game. We are going to go for the Ominous Wind here. Going to overfarm, fire off the Ominous Wind just before they do reach the next charge. It actually doesn't get the KO, but we do get that Shadow Claw farm down. Now they come in with an Altaria, so I'm going to go straight for Shadow Ball. And then if this connects, I'm going to be swapping into my Shadow Dragonite, and I will be going straight for a Thunder Punch. The opponent actually swaps out and catches onto a Galarian Weezing, but this is fine with me. I need this damage to connect. So the opponent's gonna no shield there. They're also gonna fire off the charge move instead of committing a shield and going for a full farm down. So of course, I've only got Giratina, which is very low, or I've got a Pokemon that has Dragon Breath, which is double resisted, but you can see it's a one-turn fast move. It is adding up over time. So here, I'm committing to a farm down, and we get the perfect farm down there. I'm also able to swap out, catch the charge move from Altaria, Sky Attack, takes out Giratina, and now I can just commit to a Dragon Breath farm down up against Altaria, and the opponent ends up going down there with still having both shields in play. So GG's to opponent there into the next battle. You can see Turtonator in the lead. So this is a fine matchup, but I'm going to swap into my Shadow Dragonite, and the opponent's going to come in with a Thunderfang Steelix. Now here somehow I throw an alignment there, which is not ideal, of course, giving a full Thunderfang in for free, which means I actually can't overfarm because if they're running Crunch, they would have got to it there. So I throw back-to-back superpowers. They double shield there, but Giratina is very bulky. Even if they go for an Earthquake here, I'm going to have to tank it relatively comfortably, and the opponent will be forced to throw. Here they swap into Corviknight, and I don't know what I'm thinking here. I stay in, wait for them to throw an Air Cutter before swapping out and banking energy. I should have just thrown the Shadow Ball there. Shadow Ball, we've already seen, does decent damage into Corviknight. It would mean that I wouldn't have to full send a Thunder in this matchup, and I could have just settled for an Aura Sphere. But here, Aura Sphere unfortunately won't quite get the KO. So the opponent fires off another Air Cutter. We're going to throw the charge move, but the opponent makes the perfect catch there, catching a Thunder onto Steelix. Oh my gosh. And that means now I'm going to have to throw an Aura Sphere here. Aura Sphere is going to get the KO, but now I've wasted all of my energy. The opponent is going to come back in with the Turtonator, though. That is fine with me. They're going to fire off the charge move, of course. From this range, anything gets the KO. They've got Brutal Swing, which is not ideal, but they swap back into Corviknight. And here we have a Slither of Hope as we go for Shadow Ball. I need damage registration error, and I'm not able to get it there. So unfortunately, I go down to the Incinerate damage, and I do lose that game. But GG's to a trainer, very nice catch on that Thunder. That definitely frustrated me at the time. But into the next battle, we're going to see Azumarill in the lead. This time, I'm actually waiting for them to throw, and I'm going to shield. I'm not really sure why I play it out like this. I know I can tank a Play Rough as well, so definitely should just play out the 0 shield scenario because I will lose the 1 shield scenario because they will reach 2 play roughs before I do reach 3 charge moves. But anyways, gonna fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to grab a shield here, and at this point, Play Rough probably does get the KO. So Play Rough takes us out there, and as well, I don't quite put them into Dragon Breath farm down range before they can reach an Ice Beam. So here, gonna fire off the Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch is going to get the KO there, and they're gonna come in with a Excadrill. So this is a fine matchup for me. I can farm up to back-to-back superpowers. Superpower number 1 grabs a shield, and I can reach a second superpower before they throw a Rock Slide. Superpower number 2 gets the KO there. Their final Pokemon is going to be a Corviknight, and we've already seen Thunder going to do massive damage in this matchup. I'm going to no-shield again. They don't farm up to the payback, so an easy no-shield. We go straight for Thunder here. Thunder is super effective. It gets that one shot, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's up on there. Into next battle, you see Lucario in the lead. So they're on Force Palm, so this is a really positive matchup for me. They're going to swap out into Azumarill, so I'm actually going to stay in here, fire off a Shadow Ball, wait till I've put them into range where a Thunder Punch from my Dragonite should threaten to get the KO. Of course, we don't need to shield this. Ice Beam does decent damage there, but I can tank it. I'm going to bank a Shadow Ball, swap into my Shadow Dragonite, and fire off that Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch should get the KO from this range, and it does exactly that. Now they're going to come in with a Galarian Stunfisk. That's absolutely fine with me. I'm going to go straight for Superpower here. Not going to bother baiting. Superpower is going to grab a shield from the opponent, but they allow me to reach yet another Superpower before they fire off the Rock Slide, grabbing both shields in the process. So at this point, I definitely do not need to shield. The opponent going to go for the Rock Slide, getting the KO there. We're going to come in with the Latias, and this is just going to be another Rock Slide, which I can tank pretty comfortably with the Latias. The opponent swaps back into Lucario, but this is fine with me. I can just safely shield this up. They fire off the Thunder Punch, but we can now overfarm, fire off the Aura Sphere. Aura Sphere definitely going to get the KO up against this Lucario, and then I should be able to reach another Aura Sphere into this Galarian Stunfisk. Now, Aura Sphere doesn't quite get the KO, but it doesn't matter. We had a Shadow Ball already banked with the Giratina. Shadow Ball takes out the Galarian Stunfisk, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into next battle, you can see Shadow Excadrill in the lead. So, we are going to outpace them to the first charge move here, and I'm actually going to bait with an Ominous Wind. There is no way they don't shield this. An Ominous Wind, actually, nope, never mind. They actually call that. And then I swap, I try to catch, oh my gosh, everything is going bad. Like, I tried to catch a drill run there. I don't know if the opponent predicted that and went for Rock Slide, but either way, we are in a really bad spot right now. They're going to come in with the Dedenne. I'm going to go straight for an Ominous Wind. An Ominous Wind is going to connect here. So at this point, I'm happy to let Giratina go down. Honestly, not the best matchup I've ever played so far. But anyways, we're going to come in with the Latias, and I will be no shielding as I can tank a Parabolic Charge. So of course that is resisted damage, but that's okay. I'm now going to look to overfarm, fire off an Aura Sphere. They are boosted in the defense, and Aura Sphere actually doesn't quite get the KO there. That is really unfortunate. Everything that could be going wrong for me is going wrong, and they actually have an ABA double Mud Slap team there with a Alolan Dugtrio in the back. Honestly, I still can't believe the opponent called the bait and then threw the Rock Slide into my Dragonite. That was crazy, but GG's, very well earned win there from the opponent. But into the next battle, we're going to see a Shadow Steelix in the lead. So this is a fine matchup for me. They swap into Carbink, and oh, by the way, this might be the worst team I have ever seen in the Go Battle League, just in terms of like, what the heck is this? I'm going to give a spoiler right now. The third Pokemon, actually, try and guess what the third Pokemon is for this team before I mention it. Yeah, it's going to be a Bastiodon. So they've got Steelix, Carbink, and Bastiodon on the same team. By the way, I hope this trainer queued into my previous opponent, because their team with the double Mud Slap would absolutely destroy this team here. But anyways, we're still in a decent position. We can go straight for an Aura Sphere up against this Bastiodon. Aura Sphere is going to connect. I don't know why they don't shield that, but that's fine with me. They're going to go for a Stone Edge. That's also fine with me. They come back in with the Steelix, and we can fire off an Aura Sphere. Of course, Aura Sphere going to hit for super effective damage. The opponent is finally going to start using their shields, but I can reach another Aura Sphere before they do throw a charge move. So Aura Sphere number 2 going to be no shielded, and that gets them incredibly low. So at this point, of course, the opponent fires off the Breaking Swipe there, gets the KO, but we can come in with Shadow Dragonite. All I need to do is bank a Superpower, and then I'm going to swap into Giratina, able to reach a Shadow Ball, and of course, Shadow Ball should be getting the KO here. They might shield. They do shield, but they recognize we've got the move banked on Dragonite, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, going to see a Dragalge in the lead. So, the opponent is going to be on Dragon Tail as the fast move. So, honestly, I was not expecting that. I feel like Dragalge with Acid is a very good Azumarill counter. So, not really sure why they're running Dragon Tail, but I guess it's pretty good into my Giratina. So, we're going to go for a Shadow Ball, and Shadow Ball does big damage. We can now snipe with the Shadow Dragonite, and then come in with Azumarill. But this is actually now a fine matchup for the Shadow Dragonite when shields are in play. We can fire off the Thunder Punch, and Thunder Punch does a lot of damage there. We're actually able to reach another Thunder Punch. The opponent, I thought we were going to throw there, but they don't, so they will actually be able to reach another Ice Beam in this matchup. However, what I could do is throw on CMP, but instead, I'm going to swap out, catch the Charge Leaf onto my Giratina. Ice Beam gets the KO there. And now we've got a charge we've banked on the Dragonite. I'm going to come in with my Latias here. I recognize, of course, well, I can probably commit to a full Dragon Breath farm down here after shielding once. So I'm going to do exactly that. My energy is good into basically everything that isn't named Dedenne. They come in, they've got Excadrill in the back, and that's easily game over. Aura Sphere number 1 grabs the shield, and Aura Sphere number 2, all shields are going to be down. It gets the one shot there. The opponent comes back in with the Azu, and they just concede the match. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You can see Giratina into a Shadow Giratina once again. So, this is a fine matchup for me. The opponent's going to say swap into a Turtonator. I'm going to come in with my Latias, and I'm just barely able to reach an Aura Sphere and win CMP in this matchup. Now, the opponent does not bother shielding. So, at this point, I'm actually also not going to shield this. Dragon Claw gets the KO there. That's fine with me. I do lose switch advantage, but I have 2 Pokemon that can deal with Giratina fairly well. They're going to come in with Galarian Weezing, and this is actually the alignment that I want, so this is perfect for me. Going to go straight for Shadow Ball. They do end up shielding. Now, most Weezing, I believe, are running Sludge and Overheat, in which case I do resist all the charge moves. However, I will just play it safe anyways. This is definitely just going to be another Sludge. If they're running Brutal Swing, they would have obviously thrown it already, and it was not enough energy for a play rough. So here, going to go for the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball going to be double shielded, which is not ideal. They might be able to commit to a farm down, but we can come in with our Shadow Dragonite. Banking the energy. I don't think I left with an Ominous Wind, though, so I need a Thunder Punch from my Dragonite to take out the Weezing, but we're at back-to-back Thunder Punches here. I need to throw, otherwise they will reach a charge move. Thunder Punch gets the KO, and does Thunder Punch take out Galarian Weezing from this range? Yes, it does, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. We see Giratina into Turtonator once again. So, we are going to stay in initially, then swap into Shadow Dragonite. I'm not really sure why I played it out like that, but either way, I'm going to shield this. I don't intend on throwing a Charge Leaf with my Dragonite straight away anyways, as, of course, if I go for Thunder Punch, that is resisted, and it would not get the KO, and Superpower debuffs my attack and defense. So here, they swap into Galarian Weezing. I can reach back-to-back Thunder Punches before they throw a move, and again, the opponent not committing to a full farm down, recognizing I would reach yet another Thunder Punch. So here, we're going to come in with the Giratina, and I should be no-shielding whatever they throw, but just in case they've got Play Rough, I will be shielding, and it is just a Sludge. So they grab the final shield there. I'm also really slow to react, so I don't swap into my Latias immediately. Ominous Wind does grab the final shield. I swap into Latias now, as I realize that Giratina is probably my win condition. So Dragon Claw gets the KO, but we do get a very aggressive farm down. And let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent's going to come in with their final Pokemon, a Galarian Stunfisk. We overfarm, but the opponent makes the perfect catch there. And that's going to be game over. I think they probably would have won anyways without that catch. But if that catch didn't get pulled off perfectly like it did there, that might have given me a win condition. But Earthquake easily gets the one shot. And unfortunately, I do lose that game. But once again, a very good catch by the opponent. Into the next battle, we see Florges in the lead. So we are going to stay in this matchup here. Once again, presumably they don't have any Fairy-type charge moves. And even if this is a disarming voice, it won't KO from this range, so I'm happy to no shield. I'm going to fire off the Shadow Ball, full sending it. They've just debuffed my attack, but they're actually going to shield anyways. So at this point, the opponent is going to fire off another charge move. This time they go for Trailblaze there, boosting up their attack, but I'm still able to reach yet another Shadow Ball, so they will have to double shield if they want to maintain alignment, and they are going to double shield. We're going to come in with Shadow Dragonite. We know both charge moves at this point. Both are resisted. Chilling Water does decent damage, though, from that range, and they do make a catch onto Azumarill, which normally would be pretty good for me, but of course, I am debuffed. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to bank a Superpower / Thunder Punch, and then come in with my Latias. The opponent is going to go ahead and full send a Hydro Pump there for some reason. That literally makes zero sense whatsoever. Regardless of whatever their other charge move is, both would be super effective. Thunder gets the KO, and because they went for Hydro Pump, I was able to overfarm a lot more than usual. We can now go for an Aura Sphere, getting the resisted KO, and their final Pokemon going to be a Turtonator. I still had a shield, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there into the next battle. You see Galarian Weezing in the lead. So, once again, a fine matchup for me. This could be a Brutal Swing here, but Brutal Swing is still going to be able to be tanked by my Giratina fairly comfortably. I can fire off the Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball is going to connect. It does big damage, and the opponent is forced to throw straight away. Now, we do lose switch advantage here, but it doesn't really matter too much. We can come in with the Shadow Latias, and it just depends what they've got in the back. They're going to come in with Azumarill, and we've got a slight energy advantage, so I will outpace them to the first charge move. Thunder does huge damage there. They're going to fire off a charge move. Ice Beam is going to be shielded by my Shadow Latias. I'm now going to look to overfarm. I'm going to throw just before they do reach the next charge move. Aura Sphere coming through, grabs the final shield, the first shield from the opponent. And this one, I'm going to use my final shield as we got a lot of energy. I'm going to bank an Aura Sphere, swap into Shadow Dragonite, and they are just going to go straight for an Air Cutter. Air Cutter is going to not give them the boost. If they get the boost there, potentially we're in a really tricky situation. But we can now go for a Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch connects, and we throw on CMP. That is perfect for me. Air Cutter is going to get the boost this time around, but I am double resisting stand attacks. We can go for another Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch grabs the final shield. We go for that combo play. We've got the Aura Sphere locked and loaded. Aura Sphere gets the KO, and I can just Dragon Breath, farm down the Azu, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, we see Excadrill in the lead. So last time we did go for a bait and it massively backfired. So this time I am just going to full send a Shadow, but also this is a non-Shadow, so they're probably, well, they're going to tank an Ominous Wind a lot more comfortably. Here I'm actually happy to take that shield advantage and let the Giratina go down to a draw run, because now we can come in with the Shadow Dragonite, and I could have thrown already, but instead I realized my energy is pretty much good into anything not named Dedenne, so I might as well just overfarm, and they swap into Azumarill. But we are so far ahead on energy. I go for one Thunder Punch. Thunder Punch connects. It does decent damage. We can go for another Thunder Punch here, and if they commit to an overfarm, I can actually reach a third Thunder Punch, and I'm able to do exactly that. Either that or the opponent does just not have Ice Beam, and they've only got Play Rough. But that puts them into range where I can Dragon Breath, farm them down with a Latias, and if this was their best response to a Dragonite up energy, then we should be looking fine. And they come in with a Togekiss, and once again, Thunder coverage so handy on Latias. It gets the one shot. They come back in with the Azu just to be Dragon Breath farmed down. I can Dragon Breath, farm down the Excadrill, so the opponent just concedes the match. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, to see Galarian Stunfisk in the lead. So once again, a neutral matchup here for the Giratina, but I probably will shield the first charge move just because I feel like it's unlikely that they will be baiting in this matchup. So we go for Shadow Ball. Shadow Ball connects. It does quite big damage there, and I am going to shield that first charge move. The opponent going to full send an Earthquake, which is fine with me. I'm now going to look to overfarm massively, fire off the Ominous Wind, and Ominous Wind is going to grab a shield from the opponent. They're going to bank some energy and swap into Florges. So I'm going to go straight for Shadow Ball here. Shadow Ball is going to connect. It does big damage, and now I swap into Shadow Latias. The opponent, are they going to full send a Moonblast here? They are actually running Moonblast, so unfortunately that does get the KO. But we can come back in with the Giratina potentially and commit to a full Shadow Claw farm down before they reach the next charge move, which is huge. They're going to come in, but they actually come in with Dugtrio, so another ABA double ground and steel team here with the Dugtrio in the back. So here, I have a pretty obvious win condition, or at least I can see a win condition on the opponent's end. They're going to swap out, so I go for Superpower, but I hesitated by a split second. I don't have a clue why I did that, and you can see I didn't actually throw a charge move there. There was not a CMP tie, as of course Dragonite easily wins CMP there, and unfortunately, because of that hesitation, I end up losing that game. But GG's to opponent there. Let me know if you guys ever have the win condition in your mind. You know what the opponent's going to do, but for whatever reason, you just don't actually do that thing that you were thinking about. I seem to do that quite often. But anyways, into the next battle, we see Azumarill in the lead. They actually shield the first charge move, which is fine with me. I'm going to swap into Shadow Latias here, as a Thunder will get the KO from this range, but they actually swap into Steelix, and this is also fine with me. I'm going to go for the Aura Sphere. We are already at back-to-back charge moves. So the first one connects. It does big damage. This is only going to be a Psychic Fangs, I believe, which of course is resisted. Thunder Fangs also resisted. They're not really adding up that much. I'm going to farm up once again to over back-to-back charge moves. Aura Sphere gets the KO. If they come back in with the Azu, then I'm definitely going straight for a Thunder. They come back in with that Azumarill, so I'm going straight for it. And Thunder, from this range, actually doesn't quite get the one shot there, but it doesn't really matter. Their final Pokemon, Shadow Excadrill, another double ground and steel team here with the Excadrill and the Steelix. We can go for superpower. Of course, superpower should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent, but we are 2 away from the next superpower. Even though we're debuffed, this easily still gets the one shot. And then, of course, Azu at like 2 HP gets the farm down, and so I'm able to take that game. So, GG's to opponent into the final battle of this video. We lead into Dedenne. So, of course, the previous matchup here, we double shielded and they double baited. So this time, I'm calling the bait here. And unfortunately, it's a play rough, so that definitely backfires. And at this point, yeah, that Giratina is my best answer to Dedenne. Now it's gone. We can only have for resisted damage, but they do actually no shield there, which is ideal for me, because if they full send another play rough, I can now commit to a full Dragonair farm, and the opponent staying in just to be fully farmed down there. That's fine with me. They come in with a Togekiss, but we've got that Thunder coverage. Thunder is not respected. It gets the one shot. Their final Pokemon, a Shadow Dragonite. And they're going to go down with both shields as we can come in with our own Dragonite, use my final shield for this Thunder Punch, and of course, Dragon Breath gets the farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. Now, if you want to take your support to the next level, you can become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments of every video. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has become a channel member already. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.